Hello everybody, welcome to Macro Talk. It is Tuesday, the 15th of July, I think, and tonight we're talking about my approach to photographing reptiles and amphibians, because apparently the competition has thrown several people for a loop. So I thought what I'd do today is tell you how I do this, and it's something I've been doing for a long time. In fact, truth be known, I've been finding and photographing reptiles longer than I've been finding and photographing insects. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I do love doing it, and I'm going to enjoy telling you about it as well. Show you some pictures and have a little bit of fun. So that's tonight. On Thursday, Macro Talk 2, we're going to do the first in what may or may not become a series of discussions of the photography of coins. You know, there's a whole world out there of coin photography, and it's very interesting. The guys that do it are often sticklers for technique. There's a lot to be learned, a lot to be talked about. So we're going to look into that on Thursday and get started with a basic primer, I guess, on the whole idea of photographing coins. Now, in the process of making the cover art for that particular live stream, I couldn't remember the word for coin collecting or coin photography, so I made one up. Numismatography. Numismatography. That's right. Yep. And apparently it's very popular. People liked it, so I went and bought the domain for it. So if you want to have numismatography.com for your new business, you better get in touch with me, because I spent $40 and now own it. Okay, so let me see. What are we doing at the weekend? We have a presume on Saturday. It is the last presume before I go on my short break, my summer break that I do every 10 years, whether I want to or not. I'm going to be gone from Wednesday the 23rd or thereabouts, could be the 24th, but it's next Wednesday until the following weekend. It's my brother's birthday, and I'm going to celebrate it with him overseas. So that's where I will be. There will be, therefore, next week there'll be a Macro Talk. Yes, the first one. No Macro Talk 2. The following week, neither of the Macro Talks, and then everything back to normal after that weekend. We'll miss a presume 2 weeks from now, but I'll make that up to you guys. So, you understand? Gone for a week starting next Wednesday. All right, I think that's everything that I had by way of announcements. Oh no, there was one important one. I have added another live event. It's going to be once a month, like Tangent, only it is going to be focused on that type of thing, photographing birefringent crystals. There's a lot of interest in it. A lot of my friends are doing it now, and there's lots and lots to learn and talk about and have fun with. So we're going to start doing that every once a month, every second Friday, which will be, gosh, I've already forgotten the date. No, it'll be 8/8/25 will be the first one. 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. Not a very great time, but it's about the only time I have left. So that's when we're going to meet. It'll be an hour and a half, and bring your pictures, bring your questions. It's free. It's open to anybody who's interested, and the invitation is on my website. Go to the blog, the most recent one, and you'll find it there. Did I cover everything? I think so. All right, so today we're talking about the topic for the competition this month, which, by the way, Angie Wallace is going to be judging with me, so that will be a lot of fun. I've been doing this for a long time, and I want to share with you tonight a few things about technique, where to go, where not to go, what to do, how to find and photograph the subjects of interest, how to make the photographs interesting, the equipment you should take with you, the camera settings you should use, and basically everything that you could possibly need to know if you've never photographed a reptile or amphibian before. It's a little different than some of the other things we do, and it's good to be a little bit prepared. Maybe I should have done this earlier in the month, but honestly, I thought everybody did this when they weren't photographing insects, but apparently not. Photogenic reptiles and amphibians are not hard to find. There are many, many gorgeous creatures out there that fit into those categories. And as we go through this discussion, so you don't have to look at me, I'm going to show you some pictures as we go. And they're not in any particular order. They're just examples. Every now and again, I'll see one that will probably make me want to make a comment. But they are examples of pictures that I've taken over many years. Some of them are not very good, but I think they'll give you the point I'm trying to make, which is it can be a lot of fun. Now, we have to get one thing out of the way right at the beginning. When I'm suggesting that you go out to take pictures of reptiles and amphibians, I am suggesting that you go out and take pictures of something that might be poisonous. So let's deal with that right off the bat. There are poisonous snakes in this country. Now, there's only one in the UK. For those of you that are up at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's not just one snake. It's one kind of snake, of course. If it was just one snake, they'd have killed it by now. But no, there's one thing called the adder over there, which is a pit viper, and it's very similar to what we have over here. But we have more and bigger over here. We're still light years behind Australia when it comes to things that want to kill us. But we got a fairly decent start going with some of our snakes. I'm going to talk about one particular snake and show you a resource that I think that you'll find handy to know about. Almost every state will give you access to some public information about the venomous snakes in your state. I'm going to show you what Alabama does just because, why not? Begins with an A, and I lived there. So let me show you what they put out, and we'll talk very briefly about safety when it comes to doing this kind of thing. Hang on, I've got pages just popped up all over the place that are now open. Okay, so this is what Alabama puts out. It is the 6 general categories of poisonous snake in the state, and they are there are more than one genus for each of them, but by and large, this is a reasonable grouping, I think. All of these snakes have the potential to give you a nasty bite. One of them, unless you're old or infirm or a baby, is probably not going to kill you. The one that can certainly kill you is this eastern diamondback if it gets big enough, and the others are either very unlikely to bite, or in the case of the coral snake, or unlikely to deliver a really toxic load of venom. But you do not want to get bitten by any of these. The copperhead is an upland kind of snake, probably the prettiest snake in the state of Alabama. Definitely something that I would like to photograph any chance I get. The cottonmouth, or water moccasin, cottonmouth because of this white cotton-like interior of its mouth, and this is the gape that it makes whenever it feels threatened. This is a swampland kind of snake, very, very common where I just came from. I'm going to be showing you a lot of pictures of these that I have taken. These are not aggressive. They don't like to bite. They will run away from you long before they'll bite. But once bitten, there's a few things that you need to do and a few things you must not do. I'm not giving medical advice, by the way. I'm just telling you common sense stuff. And we'll get to that in just a second. Timber rattlesnakes, another upland kind of snake. You can find them down near the sea, but generally not. Most of the time they're inland. They're very docile. They usually, if you find one, you can usually find more than one in the same location. Pygmy rattlesnakes are absolutely the most gorgeous snake in the state, and they are very pretty. They're very small, 7-10 inches long, but don't be fooled. You definitely don't want to pick one of these up and get bitten on your finger. The eastern diamondback can get up to 6 feet long, can deliver a very potent venomous bite. You do not want to mess with this snake, and it will tell you that you are about to mess with it with its rattle, which is loud and insistent. Coral snake, if you find one, I've been looking for one for 30 years and haven't found one. If you do find one, the thing has to, it's in the cobra family or the crate family. It really has to chew on you for a while for venom to get into your bloodstream. But when it does, it's a neurotoxin, and it will kill you. So the idea is not to pick these up. The bottom line is, of course, if you're out photographing snakes and amphibians and you see something and you don't know what it is, then you don't pick it up. That's not rocket science. If you don't know what it is, don't pick it up. To look at it more closely and see if you can figure out if it's poisonous or not. No. Some things that you can do that will give you a much better chance of having a happy outcome if you are bitten is to go out there with a cell phone, go out there with a friend, and go out there with a plan in the eventuality that you are bitten, or for that matter, that you fall down a ravine and break your leg. Having a plan to get out of trouble is a good idea. There are something like, at my hospital in South Carolina, there were something like, I'm guessing, 40 or 50 bites a year in the whole metropolitan area. Most of them from small copperheads. No fatalities the whole time I was there, and I like to take care of these. They're interesting patients to have, but yet they're not uncommon. And almost every snake bite that I saw always started with some guy who was drinking beer saying, "You'll watch this," which was the announcement that he was going to do something really smart with a snake that he'd found. So be careful, be mindful, learn the snakes in your neck of the woods that you don't want to mess with. If you're in America and you're except in the desert Southwest, they're all going to be pit vipers like the rattlesnakes, cottonmouths, and copperheads. And there may be a couple of the stranger, more exotic snakes like like the coral snake, but learn the ones in your neighborhood and learn what not to pick up. Okay, that dealt with. Oh no, there was one other thing. Don't buy or contemplate using a snake bite kit or a tourniquet that comes in the snake bite kit. They're two very bad ideas for snake bite. They involve making an incision into your extremity and then sucking the venom out. It doesn't do anything other than hurt and push the venom deeper in and potentially poison whoever's helping you suck the venom out. Terrible idea. Tourniquets just worsen the local damage. Go to a hospital. That's what you need to do. Go to a hospital. You know how much anti-venom costs in this country? Or in, I guess, any country, but over here. A single vial of crotalid, these are crotalids, the pit vipers. A single vial of crotalid antivenom is about $3,000, up to $8,000. A course of treatment can cost up to $150,000 because you often have to have more than 5 or 6 vials of antivenom for a single bite. My goodness, it's very, very expensive. It's much better to just avoid getting bitten. Which doesn't mean not going out in nature, because you can get bitten whatever you're doing out there. Okay, so you're going to go out. Where do you go? Well, let's talk about where you don't go. You don't go to any protected habitat that is posted. Don't irritate the animals, or don't interfere with the animals, because you may actually be interfering a little bit with snakes and reptiles to photograph them because of the way they hide. So if you're not allowed to touch or leave the pathways, for example, that's not a good place to go. You're looking for some habitat that would be consistent with what you're looking to photograph. I'm going to stop here to make a recommendation. There's a YouTube channel called NKF Herping. I've referred to it before. Um, herping is herpetology for amateurs. It's people who like to go out and find reptiles and photograph them and talk about them. This guy Noah that has this site is from Georgia, and he's built quite the following. He is one of the most entertaining and skillful amateur herpetologists you'll ever meet. I love to watch his stuff. I get all kinds of pointers on how to find and deal with various reptiles. So it's worth a look if you're interested. But I'm going to tell you enough to get you started today. So you need to have a handbook, get yourself a field guide to snakes and amphibians for your area. Oftentimes that'll be Eastern and Western United States is specific enough. Have some kind of idea what lives in your neighborhood. I mean, if you live up in the Pine Hills of whatever state you're in, then there are certain snakes that you probably will be able to find, and certain ones that won't be up there. You won't find indigo snakes on the Appalachian Trail, for example. You won't find the canebrake rattlesnakes down on a sandbar in North Carolina. Having said that, somebody's probably been bitten by one down there and will write to me, but you get the idea. Know what's around, understand what the habitat is that appeals to that creature, where it's most likely to be found, and then look for that habitat in your neighborhood. It's really not hard. Snakes and reptiles are everywhere. Many of them, some of them, I should say, you can find without leaving your garden, if presuming that you have a garden. If you have bushes and a few trees and some grass, there will be things that you can catch right there. If you have a house, or if you rent a house, you can catch things that crawl on your house in the evening. I'm going to tell you about the different techniques for finding the reptiles and amphibians in just a second, but some of them can be done right where you live. You don't have to go very far. You don't have to do anything. Once you've got a feel for where you live and what lives there, then you can make a plan for going to get it. Again, don't go anywhere that you're not allowed to go. Don't do anything that you're not allowed to do. So this usually involves going to wilderness areas. Even small wilderness pockets are good. Now, there are a group of techniques that that we all like to use, and I'm going to run through them so that it makes more sense when I talk about what you need to take with you. It should terrify you that I've got 7 pages of handwritten notes here, but some of the more common ways to find reptiles and amphibians. First of all, I mentioned this before, take a friend, because that's not just for safety, that's for fun. My friend Laura used to come herping with me all the time. It just makes it more enjoyable, and to have 2 people there to keep an eye on what's happening. You avoid stepping on quite so many bad things like snakes, and yeah, it's a lot of fun having 2 sets of eyes looking around. And I'm going to show you some pictures actually of stuff that Laura and I have found in our rambles through the low country wilderness. Let me see if I can find that actually, and I'll pop them up on the screen. Ah, here they are. So like I said, these are not in any order at all, and some of them probably should have been thrown away, but they're just pictures that I have in my files. This is an adult cottonmouth down in the swamps, right on the Gulf of Mobile Bay is the name of the place. And this was found using a technique called shining, which is one of the ones I'm going to talk about. Shining involves going out in the evening and as darkness falls completely, with a powerful flashlight and looking for reflective eyes. It's a great way to find reptiles at night, especially in rocky outcrops, or in this case, down in a really wet, swampy area that had a boardwalk. This guy was just sitting right off the boardwalk, and he's big, by the way. He's a big adult, and I found him because his eyes picked up the beam and shone it back at me. Other ways that you can hang on, let me find where my pictures just went to. Other techniques that folk use that may appeal to you more than just walking around in habitat that you expect your targets to be in, are turning things over. Now, it's called flipping in the world of hang on a sec, this is one of Laura's catches. Beautiful little slider. Lovely little turtle this. He looks a bit shocked to be picked up, but there you go. So flipping is where you take a hook or a stick. I use a specifically designed snake hook to do this, but you can use a walking stick or a golf club. And the idea is that if you find debris or detritus from people dumping stuff out in nature, which they often do, oftentimes you'll find sheets of tin or sheets of wood or particle board that have been dumped. Turning those over will yield snakes more regularly than almost anything else that you can do. But watch Noah on that channel and see how you do it. Don't just be reaching underneath things like that to flip them over. You need to use a stick. Flipping rocks is very similar, but tends to yield smaller species, usually things like worm snakes and brown snakes, red-bellied snakes, ringneck snakes, all the cute little ones. I've got pictures of all of these things coming up, I think. So here's another one of Laura's startled turtle. Gorgeous little creature. But anyway, turning rocks over is a very productive way to find small yet photogenic snakes. None of these things you're going to find under rocks are going to hurt you, and they're all snakes will either bite you, try to constrict you if they're particularly stupid because they're too small to constrict you, or they will musk you, which means they'll basically poo on you. And that last one is nasty because it's malodorous and it sticks with you for quite a long time. I'm going to tell you in just a few minutes how to pick up a snake safely and effectively, because there's a reason to do that if you're photographing them. You don't have to. You can actually do everything we're talking about without ever touching any of these things, if that's more your speed. But I think it's fair to say that Laura is not very fond of reptiles and amphibians, but after finding this scarlet king snake down at the seaside, she had absolutely no trouble befriending it. So there are ways to safely do this, and it certainly calms the animals way down. They like being in a warm hand, and that is an absolutely stunning scarlet king snake, absolutely gorgeous. I've got tons of photographs of that, which I could not have taken if Laura had not calmed it down. So that's the kind of thing. In this case, I found that in a rotting log. I saw something, glimpsed just a flash of red, and pulled a piece of bark off, and there this guy was coiled up in a rotten tree stump. So that's another technique you can use, though I don't recommend it unless you really know where you are and what you're allowed to do, because breaking open stumps can get you in trouble, I think, some places. Another thing that you can do is wade in streams. Wading in shallow streams and looking at the banks as you wade is a great way to find turtles, a great way to find water snakes. It is a tremendous way to find alligators if you're in the right part of the world. And I would caution you that cute little alligators like this one that you may find as you're splashing along in the ankle deep water often have bigger alligators nearby. You definitely do not want to manipulate these little fellas. In fact, you probably need to march briskly away when you see one of these little ones near you, because the mother can be a little protective early in the thing's life. They soon forget about it altogether, but when they're really little, this is only about 6 inches long, the whole thing, and it's very inquisitive. But yeah, you definitely don't want to mess with the mother. And in this particular case, I did find the mother, but she was quite a bit further away. Yeah, you can see from the thickness of her head up here that she was not a little alligator. So wading in streams is not a bad idea. Just be careful and pay attention to what you're doing. Using a net in ponds or around the edges of ponds is not something that I particularly enjoy doing. I do like to dig around the edges of ponds. A great place to find frogs, toads, frog spawn, salamanders, all kinds of things will show up. Lots and lots of water snakes live in the trees that overhang these ponds. So you can find all kinds of things in there, but it's messy. You do tend to get a little on the dirty side doing it. But what you don't want to do is go down into parts of the swamp that you're not familiar with, especially stuff that looks like habitat where these things would live. This is another cottonmouth. This was a big cottonmouth on a log just off a boardwalk that I was photographing him, but I would not have wanted to be down in there with him. I told you that they were timid and gentle natured. They are, but you wouldn't want to tread on one, and this one was indistinguishable from the log it was on. So netting around ponds, not my kind of thing. One of my favorite things to do, and one of the easiest ways to catch or to photograph interesting snakes, is to get out. If you live anywhere near rural America or Europe, and you live, let's say you live in the South, and you have access to a whole network of minor roads around you. At night, in the summer, especially after a little bit of rain, to cruise those roads at low speed will often yield more snakes than you know what to do with. They all like to get out on the road and stay warm after a little bit of rain in the summer. The rain gets them cold, the road stays warm, so you'll often find them lying on the road or crossing the road. Great way to catch them. Same goes for footpaths. If you have a footpath network in your community and you have a bicycle, you can bike up and down the footpaths and you'll find snakes that way. I used to be a long distance runner, and I would I'd run the banks of a river where I lived, and I would see snakes every single day I ran because I was looking for them, and it was just a great habitat. So getting out in the habitat where they are and trying to cover as much ground as you can while still being able to look and see what's out there. If you do this for a while, you'll find you are looking for snakes everywhere. And after a while, you'll start seeing them even when they aren't there, which is problematic. But certainly, as you do this for a while, you'll get very attuned to seeing the shape of a snake, even oftentimes in a tree or way off to the side of the path. So cruising on a bike or cruising in your car is a good way. Shining, we already talked about, taking a high power flashlight. A lot of people do that out west. They'll use I'm sure this is something that Mike Olson could do out in his neck of the woods, would be to get a high power flashlight and cruise some of those the rocky outcrops that they cut the roads through using a shining technique. You'll find all kinds of things. I usually recommend taking a powerful little UV light as well, because it's a great way to find scorpions. If you're out there in the west shining these cuts in the road, oftentimes that's where the scorpions will be too. That's called cliff shining, but it's basically the same thing. Trapping is one thing I don't do. I don't put out traps for snakes or turtles. Some people do. Some of my scientist friends do for particular reasons. I don't. I don't like trapping things and then trying to get them out of the trap, and yeah, it's not worth it. I'd much rather go and find them alive. Okay, so a little mention about the protective wear that some people will put on to go snake hunting. Well, depending on where you're going, if you're going to the local pond, you remember that when I lived down south, there was a pond near my house that I used to go to almost every day. And I used to find these water snakes there almost every day. This is a Nerodia species. They're everywhere, but there's nothing poisonous down there. You don't need to wear snake boots to go down there to catch these water snakes or photograph them. But if I was going to a place that had a rich biodiverse population of poisonous snakes, of rattlesnakes, for example, yes, if I was likely to be encountering 15 rattlesnakes flipping tin in the woods, I would wear protective boots that would cover me from getting bitten up to the knee, so that it would at least decrease the chances of me getting a nasty bite. I would also wear gloves, but not so much to avoid getting bitten by snakes, but to avoid cutting my hands on rusty tin that's been lying outside in nature. Snakes absolutely love to live under tin because it's warm. When the sun hits it, it warms up quicker than the rest of the ground, and you'll often find things under there. And this is not just about snakes, of course, and we're going to talk more about the other creatures that we're going to be looking at, but there are many fascinating and photogenic things out there in nature that you can find using all of these same techniques of turning stuff over, rummaging through the underbrush, and you'll find things like this skink, a 5-line skink. It's a beautiful lizard, very attractive, very easy to photograph, very mild-mannered, and can make for some good pictures, even though this isn't a good one. Other creatures that are part of this, probably the most common lizard in the whole country is the anole. And I'm going to show you some pictures that hopefully will give you ideas of how you can photograph them in interesting circumstances that will make for a more interesting picture. This is a breeding pair of green anoles on a cypress knee out in the swamp, and they're, even though they look like they're getting ready to fight, they're actually in a mating ritual thing that they do, running all over the place and gaping at one another like this. So there's a story in there. There's something that you can there's something you can tell with the picture. And lizards, snakes, tortoises, turtles, salamanders, all of these creatures have tremendously interesting lives, and if you just observe them for a little while, you'll get all kinds of ideas about how to photograph them to make them more interesting. The anole, I decided to put a bunch of anole pictures in this stack because I want to show you how there are so many different ways you can photograph this one species. This is an Anolis carolinensis, the Carolina green anole. They're green in the summer, they're brown in the winter. They have beautiful iridescent eyes, and they're very tame. They'll actually, my kids used to catch them and put them on their earlobes as a form of ornamentation, because they'll bite the earlobe and just hang from it. It sounds like a rather strange thing to do. I must admit, I probably should have kept that to myself. Let me see, I've probably got some other anole pictures, and some of these you've seen because, frankly, I like them, so I use them from time to time. Snakes and lizards particularly, but also turtles, lend themselves really nicely to selective focus techniques, where you can just get the eye or that portion of the head in focus and let everything else kind of soften away. But they have such expressive eyes that that's a technique that's worth learning. You can follow the same lizard for half an hour on a plant, and it will move around fairly slowly, and you can go with it and take pictures and take pictures and take pictures. A lot of fun. What kind of camera settings, what kind of equipment first should you take if you're going out in the woods to find and photograph reptiles? Well, it's all pretty much common sense. I would highly recommend that you start with a mirrorless camera, for a number of different reasons, but having a mirrorless camera is just going to having the ability to see what your photograph is going to be before you press the shutter button will save you a lot of grief, and it just is a little quicker for on the go shooting like this. Lenses, I recommend, if you're going out to shoot stuff that may potentially include some venomous creatures, that you get something with a bit of reach. Now, my go-to lens for photographing reptiles and amphibians is a 200mm macro lens, which not everybody has access to. Using a 100mm lens, which is a very common focal length for macro lenses, will usually get you far enough back. It by no means will get you far enough back to photograph an eastern diamondback rattlesnake. I would use a 200 or 300mm telephoto lens to photograph one of those big boys, and just plan on cropping in. When I go, I take the long macro lens, a short macro lens, and usually one longer lens if I feel like it, and that will usually be a 70 to 200, and that will be at the most. Typically, I try to travel light because you're going to be tromping through all kinds of habitat looking for these things, and you don't want to be dragging a lot of stuff with you, but you do have to take some things. Batteries, a cell phone. A cell phone is absolutely a must-have on one of these trips, because a lot of time you will not have the time to grab your camera when something cool shows up, especially if you're flipping over pieces of tin in the woods and you come across something gorgeous like a big king snake. That thing's not going to sit around. Well, sometimes it will, but usually it won't, and it'll be gone from under there. So you having your phone in your hand when you flip the tin is a great way to ensure that you get at least a couple of pictures. You can always pose the creature, or position the creature in a better setting to get proper camera pictures if it's going to cooperate. Most of the time, I do not manhandle or try to catch most of the creatures that I'm looking at. Sometimes that is not the case with snakes. Snakes can be very jittery and fearful if they don't know what's going on. But one of the best ways to let them know that what's going on is not a threat to them is to pick them up. And once you're absolutely sure you know what you're picking up, and that's the most important thing, the way you pick up a snake is by reaching down and gently grasping it around its midpoint and picking it up. If you hesitate, if you poke at it, or you try to use a stick or a hook or something to pick it up, it will feel like it's being attacked, and it will attack back, and it will bite. And almost any snake that's longer than 6 inches will give you a ferocious bite if it feels like it has to, but almost none of them do if you just pick them up quickly and positively and let them explore your hand. It's crazy how much of this we bring on ourselves. Certain species are more likely to bite than others, and all species, when they're warm and well fed and very active, they are much more likely to bite. So you just need to be aware of that. When they're cool at the beginning of the end of the season, when they've been under the tin to try to warm up, they generally won't bite when they're cool. There's nothing in it for them to do that. And when they do, they almost always just slam their open mouth into your arm or your hand or your forehead, to scare you. They're not venomous. They're not injecting anything. They're just giving you a fright. So where was I? Cell phone. Take water and take something to eat, even if it's just a power bar or something like that. You absolutely need something if you're out there in the woods all day. Make sure you have memory cards for your camera, your extra lens if you're taking one, a map or a trail guide if you're in a park so that you know where you are. And if you have a small, lightweight field guide for reptiles and amphibians, I highly recommend it. You don't have to. You are taking pictures. You can identify these things when you get home, but sometimes it's a good idea to have access to a book right there. If you know how to use a snake hook, take one with you. That's what they're made for. Is for handling snakes in environment. It is a safe way to manipulate snakes if you know what you're doing. If you don't, it's probably more dangerous than not having one. Yeah, mine is made of aluminum. It weighs just a couple of ounces, and I keep it on my back, and it stays out of the way. Travel light, and as light as you possibly can. Imagine you're going to be out there hiking all day long. But don't forget a little flashlight with a powerful beam and a UV light if you're definitely going to be out there after the sun goes down. Incredible opportunities to find things like scorpions, which are, as you know, going to shine in the dark with UV light. There are a lot of turtles around the south, and they are oftentimes one of the most fun things to photograph. They have beautiful eyes, they have strange personalities, and some of them are prettier than others. But this is, I think this is it's either it's a box. I think it's a male box turtle. I'll have to check. Can't remember. But I did like the look of his face. So there you go. What have we got here? Oh, frogs and toads. We'll get back to habitat in a minute. I think that's everything you need to take. Obvious stuff like a rain poncho, some dry clothes if you're going to be in a really wet place, or if you're anticipating wading in rivers. Common sense stuff. But let me reiterate, you do not need to take a snake bite kit. You do not need to take anything for cutting or gouging or sucking poison out of you. You just need to take a friend and a cell phone and you'll be fine. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of these specific creatures. Where would you go to find, for example, a tree frog, a green tree frog? These things are very, very common where I used to live. The way to find them is you just listen for them, because they sing a chorus of peeps that will identify their species, and you follow the peeping until you get to the water where they are. They almost always will stop peeping when you get close, which is smart. But all you have to then do is look on these rushes where the frogs will be clustered all over them, and you don't need to even touch them to photograph them, and they make great subjects. By the way, if you're out there in nature and you come across a pond with rushes in it like this, and there's nothing on them, it's because the frogs are not stupid. They've all gone to the other side of the rush, of the stem of the thing. What you need to do is position yourself so that the sun is has to shine through the rush to get to your eyes, and you'll see dark spots wherever the frogs are situated, hiding from you. So it's a great way to find them. And if you just grab the top of one with your snake hook and pull it down, you can get shots like this quite easily without having to disturb them, and you let go of them and they go back to being normal again. Some of these frogs, by the way, are not very big. I mean, typically shortly after being tadpoles, they're not much bigger than this, and this is the first knuckle on my index finger. So yeah, they're teeny tiny, but they're also fearless and great to photograph, and perfectly legitimate examples of what you can be photographing for the competition. By the way, did everybody see, or did anybody see the new rule for the competition that I posted in the blog yesterday? The new rule is this, that your restriction to one image, if you have won the competition, expires after 12 months. So you're only penalized for 12 months, after which time you can submit 2 images again. I thought that would be a bit fairer. So that's what we're doing. Only those people who have won the competition in the last 12 months are restricted to 1 entry. Everybody else can have 2. Another green anole picture, one of my favorites, handheld. I do not take a tripod with me when I'm going out to do this kind of photography. Reptiles do not stay still long enough for that to work out. I just make sure that my camera settings are such that I'm going to take avail myself of all the available light and yet eliminate vibration. To that extent, I always shoot auto ISO, assuming I'm not using any fancy lighting and I'm not using flash, though I do use both. If I'm just out there running and gunning, I will shoot with an auto ISO, the aperture as wide open as I need it to get the effect that I want. In this case, I wanted mostly just a shallow depth of field with everything else to be out of focus. So I was shooting at probably f4. And then with auto ISO, that meant that, that I could pick my shutter speed to minimize the risk of movement. I like to go double the focal length of my lens, even when I have image stabilization on. So I'm really on the safe side. So in this case, I think I was shooting at 1/400th of a second, and that was perfectly good. My ISO might have been bumped up a little, but the picture came out fine. So that's what I do for settings. Of course, you can use flash, and I do use flash. I use the MF12s a lot. They work really well. You just need to know how to use them and understand the limitations of their recycle time. This is a cottonmouth shot by me out in nature. This is a large cottonmouth that's hiding underneath a log in a little water collection by the side of a footpath that is full of frogs' eggs. Actually, some of these might be salamander eggs, but anyway, it's like you or me taking refuge in a bowl of minestrone soup, so that you could just have a bit if you got hungry. So that's where this guy lives. I took a picture of him as he ran away. Probably not the best choice of words. Let me see if I've got that. No, it'll be somewhere in this stack. He's a big, fat, adult water moccasin, but like I said, they aren't there to bother you. Even though they look mean, they're not. They just need to be respected and given some space. Now, when it comes to getting pictures that are interesting, the reptiles and amphibians do all the work for you. You just need to watch them. You need to calm down and watch them. And this guy with his Freddy Krueger claw coming out and just sitting on the end of this tiny little log that he was perched on, just made for a great picture. I mean, there's a story there. I don't know what it is, but yeah, you've got to love these things, and they are everywhere. They don't bite. They don't do anything mean. They just they pull their heads back in. I say they don't bite. Some of them do. The snapping turtles do. The best thing is to keep your hand well away from the bitey bit. This is the bitey bit at the end here. They have a beak type thing. Don't put your finger in there. A snapping turtle will take your finger off. But yeah, that's kind of obvious. It's in the name, right? So there you go. Another frog. You find yourself photographing the things that are common where you live, but these things can be found in and around your neighborhood. You don't have to go on safari to find green tree frogs. I don't know about upstate New York, but certainly most of the places I've been, and there are endless varieties of them. Some of them really weird looking, with long legs. This is actually the same frog I was photographing for something else. I couldn't believe how long and skinny its legs were. But make for good pictures. I think I've got one more of the guy crawling along. Yeah, this piece of grass was whipping back and forth in the wind the whole time I was taking these pictures. It was moving about 2 feet. But you know, use enough ISO, I could stop it well enough to get a decent picture. So the snakes, once you get comfortable with them, you'll just know what you're dealing with. You'll know your species. This is a banded water snake, a northern banded water snake, very common where we were. It's doing his threat display, flattening himself out to look bigger and giving you a mean look. These things do bite. They don't hurt, and they just give you a startle when they do it. But once you calm them down, they are so photogenic, and they give you great photographs. But of course, to the uninitiated, the shape of the head and the way they flatten out and hiss could actually convince you that it was something else, in which case go back to rule number 1, which is if you don't know what it is, don't pick it up. I'm including this because it's a terrible photograph that I just snapped as I was walking by the stream. This is a soft-shell turtle. It's one of the musk turtles. Absolutely gorgeous. The shell is leathery, but it bends. These things swim like you wouldn't believe. If you've got any water anywhere on your property or near your property or in a neighbor's property, and you can go and dig around there in the summer months, you can find all this stuff. It's all down there, and you, like I say, you don't have to touch it. You can stay well away from it and still get great pictures. Like this startled little slider that Laura found. He just looks absolutely perplexed. The thing is no bigger than a quarter. Amazing. Let me see what else we've got here. Oh, how about anole pictures? This was a strange one. I don't know what it looked like a regular green anole, but it had all this red and yellow in it. Very strange coloration. That was at my last house right before I moved up here. So looks like it's been dipped in ink. They do change color, by the way. These lizards, and this is the same guy in the same sequence. Just shot him about 20 minutes later. He didn't move, and his pink color had gone. Anyway, interesting. What else have we got here? Probably more anoles. You can actually find gopher tortoises in parts of the US. Did you know that? Well, now you do. There's one. I don't think they're as pretty as turtles, but well, he didn't like that I said that. He disappeared. Let me see if there's something else here. Geckos. If you have a house that is made of stucco, for example, these things can be found all summer long, zipping around looking for bugs on the walls of your domicile. I photographed this guy not to get his eyes, which is why they're not in focus. It was to get these cells here on the change color on its forehead. Just amazing. Geckos are tremendous fun to watch. They have foot pads that suction to whatever they're walking on, so they can walk upside down, unlike other lizards. Don't know too much about them, except that in warm climes you can find them crawling outside your house. You don't have to go anywhere fancy. We're running out of time. Show you a couple of other things that you'll stumble across. If you don't fancy the idea of going on hikes and looking for ponds and flipping over debris in the woods, just go out there with a stick and move the leaf litter around, and if you're near a body of water, you will find frogs, you will find toads, you will find salamanders. All you've got to do is look. If you are out looking for slime molds, you will find these creatures. because they live in the same places. And yeah, they are endlessly fascinating. Another anole with a different facial expression, but the same hole in the side of his head. I don't know if that's his eardrum or what, but yeah. There are other lizards besides anoles, by the way. Probably the second most common is the fence lizard. They have these in slightly higher ground, rockier places. They're not particularly attractive, and that picture is certainly no good. But I've got another one I can show you in the last couple of minutes. That's another gecko's eye. Look at that cool looking iris. Very strange. You know, any one of these would stand you a good chance of grabbing the interest of the judge in a competition on reptiles and amphibians. Any one of them. I say that not because I took them. I definitely wouldn't say that. So this is those color changing cells on the surface of a gecko's skin, and they can really change colors dramatically like a chameleon. It's marvelous to watch. It looks a little like a squid in warm weather. What else do we have here? Another water snake. This is a northern water snake, Cypodon species. You know where I shot this? I shot it in a stream at the zoo. No, it wasn't in the zoo. It was in a stream going through the zoo, and it had a nice snake in it. So I was yeah, I didn't bother going in the reptile house. I just shot the ones that were out in the park. But this is harmless. These ones are a bit bitey in the summer. 2 minutes left. Can we get through a couple more pictures? I bet we can. This is the same snake shot from a different angle. So pretty. My goodness. That they are just such attractive creatures. I really think they're marvelous. They make great pictures. All right. Let me see. Toads. Everybody loves a good toad, right? No, you're saying. Oh, well. Hang on. I can't get this one to open. This was a gorgeous one that I found at the Botanical Gardens down at the coast. Just lovely colors in its eyes. Just stunning. Beautiful. These are very tame. They're very easy to work with. They'll hold their position and let you do their thing. Sometimes tree frogs will end up in odd places, like taking over your bird feeder thing. That's where I found this one in Florida, guarding the opening to a bird thing. Plestiodon is a 5-line skink, another lizard common around here, or common around there. Beautiful metallic blue tail, 5 lines down their back. These are all good examples of things that you could submit in the competition. You want to get your picture of, fairly close. It is a macro competition, but I'm going to be very lax about the actual magnification. If you were to submit this, it would be good enough, I think. Let me see. Anything else? I'm going to skip a couple of... Oh, here's another nice frog. Lots of different frog species in this country, from American toads to the rana species. What is this one? A leopard frog? Probably. No, there is a leopard frog coming up, though. No, that's just another anole. Hang on, I've got one other thing I wanted to show you. I found this at the same zoo, but not in the zoo, in their pond. A red-eared slider, another pretty turtle. And, oh yeah, one other lizard I would recommend you not pick up, actually, along with those poisonous snakes. This is a broadhead skink, one of the more common skinks, and it is on a 2x4, no, a 4x6, whatever, I don't know. It's one of those bits of wood you make houses out of, and this thing is big enough to kind of cover the whole thing. They have the most vicious bite. I would not pick these up unless you know what you're doing. They will take a hunk out of you. And that's it. That's it. We're out of time. So I hate that because I am so not finished. I get so excited about this stuff. If you are not planning on entering this competition because you're afraid of going out and doing this, give it a try. You might find that it's something you'll fall in love with. I know I did all those years ago. So I'm not gonna. I'll show the rest of these pictures some other time. I got far too many of them, and I will try to find your comments. So we're out of time. It's already past 9. I will read the comments. I know that I'm got in trouble for this, and that's I'm trying to work out a way that this doesn't happen. That I can read your comments as we go. Yeah, I'll give you an update on that as soon as I figure it out. But in the meantime, rest assured, I will look at the comments as soon as we get done here and answer any that need an answer on Thursday. But thank you all for coming. I really enjoyed that. This is one of my passions. I love this stuff, and I think you will too if you give it a try. Yeah, there you go. Let me see. Amy's going on a safari in her own backyard. So you should, Amy. You'll love it. Glad you're here, and thanks for everything you do. And you're on a river. Okay, be careful. Anolis carolinensis. Did I say something else? Probably did. Geckos use quantum physics to adhere to things. It's called the Casimir effect. I did not know that. Julio did, and he told us. What are these purple things with a number 3 or a number 1 on them? Has anybody figured that out? Don't know. No idea. Thank you everybody for liking it, and or not, whichever the case may be. Joseph, is this better? Is this better than insects? You like this? I hope so. Are you going to come to the crystal thingamajig that we're doing in August 8th? You should come. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will see you on Thursday if you can make it, and if not, I'll see you on Saturday for the presume. Yeah, I will see you again next week before I leave on my trip. So until then, take care, stay safe, and be well. Good night.